Talk about a time Ben Grimm finally saw how Reed Richards really feels. The Fantastic Four have been broke up for about 5 months now, up until Reed and Sue find this large dome that looks a hell of a lot like Ben in the middle of Kentucky. It turns out that this is an alien life form that is keeping Ben and Alicia inside and feeding off of their emotions. It's through this that we finally find out what exactly happened to the Fantastic Four all of those months ago. New York City found itself in the midst of yet another invasion. As the Fantastic Four were desperately fighting off the creatures from the negative zone swarming around the Baxter building, Reed got a rough count of about 1,500 of these invaders, and there's really no one else coming to help them at the time, so he has to make a decision. Even though the kids, Franklin, Val, Nikki, and Joe, were safe inside the Baxter building, Reed had to make a decision and make it quick. He asked the rest of the four if they trust him, to which Ben says of course he does. So on his command, Sue lifts the four of them up above the rest of the city. At the simple flip of a switch, the Baxter building, all the invaders around it, and their children inside up and disappear. Not to mention it took an entire city block along with it. While everyone's standing around curious as to what just happened, Reed explains what he did and exactly how time travel works. He tells them because there is no center of the universe, when you do time travel calculations, you have to use yourself as the 0 point. But Annihilus' monsters from the negative zone would have defenses put in place against that, so what Reed did instead was use the sun as a 0 point. Now, because the sun was the 0 point and he used these new calculations, he was able to send this invasion 6 months back in time, where obviously the Earth would be safely on the other side of the solar system at that point, so they arrive harmlessly in space. But in order to successfully balance his equation in such a short amount of time, Reed had to send the rest of the area getting sent through time forward in the future. While the Annihilation Horde went back 6 months and went harmlessly into the middle of space, the Baxter building and the surrounding New York City area will arrive exactly 1 year from the moment he sent them in the future. That way he can make sure that they safely arrived at the exact point in time in the exact space they're supposed to. Now, Reed is calmly explaining this to Ben and Alicia, even though they're expressing how much they don't want to miss a full year with their children. But Reed tells them simply it's just not possible. Through a calm and collected voice, he says that there's nothing he can do about it. Time travel's just too volatile, and if he tries anything, he could jeopardize their kids arriving safely. Ben and Alicia are absolutely pissed because Reed once again made the decision, and they're the ones stuck there holding the bag. While Alicia is letting out her frustrations, Reed is trying to cut her off and telling Ben to try and explain it to her, which of course pisses him off worse. But as they're hanging there, the creature that's feeding off their emotions is also amplifying them so that it can grow even stronger. And they keep reliving this moment over and over again, and each time it seemingly gets worse and worse and worse until Ben can finally see something. That Reed is hurting too. In this simulation, he's bawling, crying. He grabs Sue and apologizes, and the two collapse to the ground. Ben simply tells Alicia there ain't no bad guy here. Meanwhile, outside, the Fantastic Four are freeing the two, ready to be a family once again.